Hello, 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 and what's going on, everybody? And thank you so much for joining us today on Roots and Rebirth as we are going to dive into the art of self awareness, a powerful discussion within our ongoing series, The Path of Self Discovery. Self awareness is the foundation of personal growth. It allows us to recognize our patterns and understand our emotions and take accountability for our healing. Together, we'll explore what that truly means to know ourselves and how self awareness shapes our relationships and decisions, and how it can be the key to unlocking more intentional and fulfilling life. Good evening, everyone. My name is Afia Rise, and I'm your host. And tonight, we're going to start that transformative conversation. Joining me tonight is Miss Nina, who's also going to be leading this conversation about self awareness. And I'm going to add my tidbits here and there. But now, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic to Miss Nina to kick off tonight's conversation. How you doing, love?
You so much, Lacey. I'm having a long day. How about
Oh
that?
no, I I hear you.
It's been a very long day. I got lady things happening, life things happening, work things happening, but I'm still here. Thank you so much for having me. Um, when dealing, I think with this is a really fun topic for me. So I feel like I've mastered this part. I just do because accountability comes easy. If you really, really, really want to change, it should come easy. You should hold yourself accountable. And I mentioned accountability only because self-awareness is a big part of accountability. Because you're responsible for whatever it is, whatever you're feeling. I don't even care if somebody did something to you. You're still responsible for how you're going to react to that feeling, how you're going to hold on to those feelings and thoughts. All of that is up to you. So self-awareness, nobody gonna check you, right? But can you check you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
if can't nobody check you, when are you gonna check you? That's what self-awareness is to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on any aspect, because like, of course I made notes. But just thinking back to when I first got married, when I got married, I got married in 1999. Yes, I was in the 1900s, girl. Oh, so it look, getting married ended up showing me and different sides of me and different sides of him. Because I at the time had a distorted view on love and marriage because I didn't see in my home. I saw other people, but in my home, there was no mass connection. There was no, my mama and stepfather was not hugging and kissing and carrying on. So when I got, those things matter when you're growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
you see certain things, and then some people revert and do whatever the opposite is. Like if you grew up around people that weren't affectionate, then you grow up craving affection. And then some people grow up in affectionate homes that are just not affectionate at all. And it's not bad, which brings me to how I ended up feeling like, my husband don't love me. That was my thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the time we were dissipated, the relationship was over. What I realized was he loved me. It was just different. It was his way to love, not my. I was looking for, you know what I mean, a certain thing, words, and you know what I mean, things to be happening. I didn't even grow up seeing those things, but I grew up wanting them.
Mm-hmm.
So when he didn't do those things I thought that he should be doing, I said that there was no love there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that he didn't love me, he just loved me different,
Mm-hmm.
his way.
Absolutely.
So it forced me to look inward. Because why did I immediately go to that? Oh, you don't love me. Because I myself was feeling unloved. the whole time I was growing up. You know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
that takes a lot of self. You have to know what's going on with your emotions and stuff. Being in tune with your emotions makes a really big difference.
It certainly does.
And my family was just not emotionally intelligent, so they
Mhm.
just did, everybody reacted. You know what I mean? Nobody
Mhm.
just talked things out or sat down and made negotiations. No, it was we
Mhm.
ain't gonna be together.
Yeah.
It's easy to quit,
Mhm.
but when it comes to self, you can't quit on self.
Right.
So that mirror, you got to put it up, and you got to look all the way. You got to look and see that, yeah, your mouth is jazzy. That's why that man don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Your kids scared of you. Why? Because you bite their head off every time they turn a corner or say something, just because you might be going through a thing. I'm not talking about these things because these are just some scenarios in my head. No, these are mistakes I already made. So I know
Mhm.
for a fact these are true. These are facts. This is not, oh, this is what they say in this book I read. No, no, I lived it. I'm telling you.
Mhm.
And we wrong for that. Because when you're not intelligent emotionally, it hinders so much your relationships, friendships, work relationships. Because I have a hard time working with people.
Mhm.
That hasn't just started occurring.
Mhm.
I was in kindergarten and I remember getting letters sent home. Nina does not play well with others.
Mm.
Okay? Self awareness started years, 35 or more years ago for me. Because it's like, oh, this is the thing. And I'm like, what do you mean? You know, I didn't feel anything was wrong with it.
Mhm.
Because who am I being? Me.
Yourself, yeah.
That don't always work,
True.
Lacey. Because some of your things be stinking.
Yeah.
You got some
That's
stinking thinking that be
it.
going on. You know,
Absolutely.
you just don't have the, what, I don't even know the word I need to use. But you just don't have the tenacity that it takes. You have to have it to be able to look in the mirror. And a lot of
Yeah,
people just really can't do. The reflection is horrible. I don't lie to myself.
absolutely.
I do not lie to myself. You can't heal what you hide.
Very true.
And that goes into also my faith. I believe that, on my end, things, my sins, my things are forgiven if I ask with an honest heart, this, that, and the other. You know how it goes. So here I
Mhm.
am, this thing, but you can't pick those things back up once you become aware.
Yes.
Because then they are what? They are they ain't just habits no more. You making a choice to
Yeah,
be said
absolutely.
way. Self awareness has a lot to do with my functionality right now. Like my life probably would have been at least 80% different. I won't say better,
Mhm.
but I believe better could have been the outcome. But
Mhm.
I just really been this real with myself 20 years ago,
Mhm.
girl.
But
Mm,
that's true though. That's true that self-awareness plays such a key role in literally everything that you do. And
mm-hmm.
we don't think it goes that deep, but it really does because it's like a coin. One side of self awareness is intimately knowing yourself so you
Right.
can be aware of why you respond to certain things when you're in a triggering environment, what's an upsetting thing unfolding in your presence so you can get ahead of those things, and also acceptance for your identity. And then the other half of that coin is knowing how you show up and how that person affects other people. So it's one thing to say, I'm a blunt person. I like to give it to you straight. Okay, that's cool. And if you're embodying that identity and keeping that as a characteristic that you hold close and hold dear, that's cool. But you have to understand there's other people in the world. So when you exist as a blunt person, you don't pull any punches. Understand that there are some people that are I don't want to use the term sensitive as a derogatory term, but some people who find that impolite and rude and
Right,
offensive and hurtful, and they
right.
call you rash and brash and a person who lacks tact. And so
Yeah, I
you
know
you,
I'm
you
that
have to be
person, so I get that. I understand
and
that.
you
And
have to be
but
okay with both sides of the coin. Like if you're going to
yeah,
hang on to being blunt, you have to understand that people are going to misconstrue sometimes that
and I
bluntness
love
for
that.
intentionally being hurtful.
And actually, you know what I have come, because before before this year, I'll say this year, or I'll say as early as maybe November, October, I was thinking about just how much I water myself down because of that one thought. Well,
Mhm.
what I decided is that I don't care if I'm looked at as brash.
Right, right.
Um, how I am as a person is going to evolve, but that is one of those parts I was telling you about that I'm keeping, because
Absolutely.
I don't allow certain things, and I don't do certain things. I got boundaries, and then I set boundaries for other people. Well, I have enough water. I've already added. I'm not adding this year, this and going forward, not just 25, but for me, since I'm being self aware and people claim that they know me,
Mhm.
then when I talk to you about something and you have that said feeling, I feel like that's something you should go get help with. Don't
Yeah.
even tell me about it.
Yeah.
Go get you. I mean, because that's what I have to. When I have issues, I go to the therapist,
Yeah.
or I look within and I start working it out.
Yeah.
But I don't do this.
Yeah.
Because I have had people say horrible things to me, and I'm just like this, like,
And
okay,
what's funny is I would
it's
say
your
I had
business
that
how you feel.
absolutely. And I would say I had that aspect of myself too, but I think I went a different road about it because I think I did have some of those conversations about like, filtering and not being so coarse, if you will.
Mhm.
And for me, if I had to label it, I would say I know for a fact that that identity is a part of me, but that person is also my protector. That person is the soldier. That person is the person that wears the armor. And my part of my self awareness was saying, I identify that that's a part of me, but I also have to identify the fact that there's a person who doesn't wear armor because they're so loving that they just want to wash that over
I don't
everyone.
give that. I don't give that to
Mhm.
anybody. You you
Mhm.
you have to earn that side of me.
True.
I don't. And I know that's like, well, dog, how many people you have living you? I got one person. I'm one person, but
Yeah.
I don't owe anybody outside of my immediate loved ones the extras, my
True.
overflow. I don't. I'm going to
True.
always be kind. I'm not going to be rude if you allow, because I'm
True.
not a naturally rude person. So if I
Right.
got rude 9 times out of 10,
Mhm.
you did something. I
Mhm.
have looked in the mirror and literally been like, okay, I'm the problem.
Mhm.
Friend, I'm sorry. Or
Mhm.
babe, I'm sorry. I saw what you meant, and I'm so sorry. I'll try my best not to be or do,
Mhm.
or say XYZ.
Mhm.
But then there are times
Mhm.
where I know for a fact my intentions were well.
Mhm.
I spoke well. I
Mhm.
did, but I thought before I spoke, which is
Mhm.
something that I just learned how to do a
Mhm.
few months ago.
Mhm.
And I'm 40, 44, girl. I just learned that. Okay. I had to think about it.
Right.
I'm
Right.
44. I just learned that. So just understand that even if it's you, if you feeling like, gosh, I am kind of raw. Girl, don't take that away.
Yeah.
Because some people see your docile side as a vulnerability, not just not a vulnerability, but
A weakness.
yeah, a weakness and a crack in a door for them to just bust through. No,
Sure. Sure.
no, you don't
But
get to
then
do that.
But then at the same time, and then I also want to clarify just for the listeners too, that just hearing the conversation between Nina and I, even though we started at the same experience as far as perhaps being, experienced as maybe rash or brash or too blunt or any of those things, that we differ in how we've evolved that characteristic. But the truth of it is her approach is no more wrong than my approach. And that's where self-awareness comes into play as well, is because while we're having a conversation, a person may listen to me or listen to Nina, or let's say we had other perspectives on the panel as well, and they are coming from a different place but the same origin. You might look and say, well, I think this is wrong. I think the
Right,
way that Lacey does it is wrong. I think the way that Nina does it is wrong. At the end
right,
of the day, self-awareness is about claiming how you move and accepting yourself and how you show up. Because at the end of the day, adulting looks like choosing the behavior and understanding that choosing that behavior comes with choosing the consequences. Nina's a grown woman to say that, you know what? I do have my soft and gooey side, but I choose not necessarily to lead with that and to choose who even gets to be exposed to that person. And that's her right to do that. We
hmm,
typically would shame someone that says something like that, like, oh, you guarded and no one can
I'm
ever
not.
love you. And you hear all that
Right,
stuff, but she knows exactly what she's doing. And this isn't a response to a trigger. This is a
right,
choice, that this is
yes,
how I prefer to navigate my life. And
right,
so that doesn't make her wrong. That's an adult making a decision with how she wants to experience her environment in
right,
comparison with myself. Like, I have that same wall, I have that same protection or that hard exterior that, people may find difficult and not necessarily approachable. And I know that to be true, but I reserve that person for when you push me too far. You see what I'm saying? I lead with a very, like, my typical description is, oh, she's so social and she's goofy and she's silly. And you will see it night and day when that person flips to, we've entered into an area where I'm not happy with what's going on here. You see what I'm saying? And that experience will be two different people, but that's how I choose to walk through my life. I'm okay with the perception and maybe even the experience, like Nina was saying, that they might see that bubbly person and go, this is an opportunity to take advantage, honey. I'm about to go through this girl pockets. And the
right.
minute you try and pull something out my pocket, you're gonna meet person number two.
And
You
she
know
gonna
what I mean?
snatch
And
your
then you'll have a
edges,
different
and that's
realization.
it.
But me
Yeah,
existing that way and knowing that both of those identities are me. I don't have to shun either one or make either one wrong. I don't have to make my bubbly side the doormat. Oh, don't be nice to people because people gonna walk all over you. You know, those people that walk around and don't give themselves permission to be authentically loving everywhere they
right,
go.
right,
And they won't say, this is just who I am. Unfortunately, the consequences of that is you may cross paths with people that take advantage. That doesn't mean hide your loving nature. That doesn't mean
no.
don't give to people that you want to give to. It means keep your head on a swivel.
Use your discernment.
Absolutely.
Use your discernment. But
Absolutely.
a lot of people are not tapped in. So
True.
they don't discern. So they're like, oh, well, I was a good person too. Okay, just like, okay, say for instance, you hear a person say, and I have a problem with this too. And yes, I do. Um, like say for instance in a relationship, and the
Mhm.
relationship ended for whatever reason, the people been together for however long, it don't even matter, but this one statement bothers me
Mhm.
because it's great, it's a great, I gave him my all. Who told you to do that?
Mhm.
That's not being self-aware, darling.
True.
That's
Very
not
true.
loving you. If you give a person all of you, what's left for you? What's
True.
left for you? Because people get to choose what they want. What if you don't, what if you're not the flavor anymore? And I'm not saying think negatively. I'm just saying think logically.
True.
Like, don't give every single part. Like, I'm going to have things my husband may never know about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because people can hear certain things about my life. Like, I know that especially with my extensive experience with men, people assume that telling me or telling other people or, you know, calling me a harlot or whatever, offends me. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Mm-hmm.
no, I told you the story.
Mm-hmm.
So what would make you think I would be offended if you told somebody the story?
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, let me add what I left out since you think you shamed me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to tell about my life
Mm-hmm.
because I am aware of self.
Mm-hmm.
Those things shaped me.
And that's a powerful thing too. Like even in self-awareness, you gain acceptance for your experiences,
For me.
good and bad.
And bad.
And when you know
Yes.
you've made a bad decision that yielded a negative outcome and you have accepted that, if you felt like you needed to forgive yourself, you've done that necessary work as well. When you move past it or move through it, overcome it, however you needed to navigate through that obstacle, if you even want to call it an obstacle rather than an experience, people from the outside will have their perspectives, and some people will want to uh shame you or guilt trip you in relationship with their opinion related to their awareness of those same experiences. And self-awareness allows you to not be offended by that because you've gone through your acceptance of yourself. You're not in a place of trying to impress
Yes.
anybody.
I
You're
call it
not in a
getting over
place of
people,
trying to meet the approval of
of
anybody. You're
others.
saying this,
Right.
all of these things have taken place and all these things have shaped me. All these things have taught me. And yes, people will have their opinions about it. And I can accept that as well. I can accept the opinions related to that will not all be good. I can accept that their perspective of me may change. All of those things may, you can accept all of those things. Some people will break away once they learn a truth. You know what I mean? I can accept that as well. And when you get to a place of self-awareness, you can accept yourself. You can also accept how people respond to said
Yes.
self and not
Yes.
flinch and say, you know
Yes.
what? You have a right to not
To
want to be
feel.
around. Yeah, to separate yourself from that. I'm not mad
Yes.
about it. You
Right.
are well within your right. You're an adult. And you know what I mean? No
And
love
I respect
lost.
that. And I
Right.
respect what you and I
Absolutely.
respect what you feel. So let me
Absolutely.
do XYZ so that whatever interaction we had that made you feel whatever type of way, I'm not the person to do it again because I want you to respect me the same way going forward. You feel
Right.
what I'm saying? So like I always worried about what one person thought, and that was my mom. Everybody else could go straight down below. My mother is deceased. So guess what?
I know, right? That person don't
Nobody is
exist no
spared.
more, right?
No, there are grace. I will extend grace.
Right.
I got that. I got plenty of grace. I'm
Mm,
learning daily how to give grace to myself and to others. But what I
absolutely.
do know for a fact is I'm never lying to me. If I
Yeah.
feel a way about however we interacted, I'm like, hey, Lacey, look, um, I don't know if you realize it, but you made me feel like blah blah blah, and it could have just been me because I feel like XYZ. So I mean, if it's not you and you cool, then let me know because I'll check me. And
Mhm.
if you could talk to my friends, you could pull them up on a panel right now, and they will tell you, "No, Nina, check in." I check in with my friends at least once a year, and I ask
Mhm.
them all the same question:
Mhm.
Am I being a good friend to you?
Mhm.
Am I being a good friend to you?
Mhm.
If not, let me know how I can
Mhm.
make it better because I don't want to lose our friendship.
Mhm. Oh, that's wonderful. I think that's really sweet.
I think but when you want people in your life, when you have a person you want in your life, no matter who they are, they should know you want them in your life. They
Sure.
should never be guessing.
Yeah, I can agree
If I'm
with that.
if I'm ever guessing about you, I can't do nothing with it. I can't
True.
do nothing. You know what I'm
Very
saying?
true.
That comes from a lot of self-awareness as well. Because
Absolutely.
I have to do it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a point in time where I didn't trust me. It took me a years, years. And with this year, I'll be celebrating 14 years of sobriety on July the 5th.
You
So
almost there. Go ahead, girl.
almost,
That's what
girl.
I'm talking
So
about.
like four,
Congratulations early,
yes,
mama.
thank you.
That's
So like
wonderful.
14 whole years of saying no to a substance that I felt like was my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing I have found, because I'm gonna be honest with you, you're never gonna find a person that's using that tells you, oh, it's horrible. Because it's not. It feels
Right.
good. It feels amazing. But
Right.
being clean feels a gazillion times better.
Better.
You know? And that situation forced me into my mirror.
Mm-hmm.
That's what pushed me into my
Mm-hmm.
mirror. Because some things happen and you can shy away,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
not look at yourself, because especially if you don't have people around you that hold you accountable
Mm-hmm.
and that point out your crap,
Mm-hmm.
then
Now,
you just go.
question, just to get your perspective.
Mhm.
Okay, self-awareness is, we can agree that that's the state of looking inward, right?
Mhm.
So, considering the fact that we are a part of a society that I would say doesn't necessarily do that too often, would you say that more often than not, self awareness comes about via being forced to look into the mirror as opposed to choosing to, more often
Yeah,
than not, right?
that's
And
that's
I
what
would
I'm
say the
saying.
same. And I think even looking at the mirror, most people come in contact with it and run. I think that they literally have to be forced to, as in like you hit rock
No
bottom and you
choice.
have no choice but to pick up the mirror and look at it. Because if you have an exit door nearby, you're going to use the door
Yeah,
more often than not. And I'm like, and
true.
it's crazy because lack of self-awareness, in my opinion, leads you straight to denial. Which,
Straight.
because if you don't have self-awareness, you spend most of your life building a fantasy and in denial, building a fantasy world for yourself.
You
And
do.
anytime somebody has a mirror in their hand, you get rid of them, cast them out. We're not
Got
friends
it.
anymore. You get
Because they not
angry,
on
you get
your team.
hostile.
They ain't on your team. You ain't for me. Well, I
Yeah,
don't like.
absolutely.
I'm never the yes friend. Never.
Agreed. But
Never.
the thing is, but Nina, the thing, okay, see, I feel this way, and I promise you, I already know you feel this way, but I'm like, why have the yes friend?
Why? That's not
Like,
your.
but most
That's why I
people
try to
want
tell
the yes
people.
friend. And I'm like,
That's
why?
because they don't want that mirror. They're afraid of that mirror we talking about. Because if I tell you, friend, you slept with 3 men this week, you probably should pump the brakes.
Right, slow down.
Granted, it's yours.
Yeah,
You can do what you would like to do with it.
yeah,
But me as your friend, knowing the high STI and STD rates, unwanted pregnancies, all these different, like, and the soul ties and the drama that
yeah,
comes with constantly connecting with people, and because like I
all
don't
of
do
that.
small talk. So what you doing? Like you calling and you say, "Hey, pull up, let's do XYZ, boo boo," and I can't do like my time at this point in my life. Now in my 20s, I did my share. We'll talk about that another time, but I did my share. That was actually my mentality. So that's
Mhm.
how I know for a fact it doesn't work when you evolve, because you
Yeah,
end up feeling like, no, I have mismanaged my whole vagina.
yeah,
That is what you feel like.
yeah.
I'm telling you, because this was my life. And it's like, no, you don't need nobody to tell you. But I had friends who were saying, yes, friend, yes, girl, Paula, tell me about it. How was it? Was it good? You know what I'm saying? Like, those were yes friends. I was like, after about, some time, I guess about 41. And I was like, y'all ain't my friends.
Right.
Cause why you didn't say, no,
Yeah.
give me all the expletives, tell me
But the
all the
crazy
things.
thing, Nina, is on the other end of the spectrum. I can tell you I've lost quite a few friends because of that honesty.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
having a friend in that situation and going, I mean, you barely know him.
Right.
Like, you let him around. They met the kid. He met the kids. Why? Like, you know what I mean?
He
You
spent the
don't even know
night.
him.
Look, he came to your house.
Absolutely. And having those conversations with a female friend and saying, like, I hear you like the person, but you're moving a little too fast. Consider safeguarding yourself, consider protecting yourself, even using the buzzwords. Because when we talk to women, even when we're being honest, we got to put a little icing on it. Listen, I don't want you to get hurt.
I
I
don't got
don't
no
want you to
ice
be
in,
let
lady.
down. I
No.
love you. We
Right.
got you got to put a little
I
razzle
had
dazzle
icing.
on it.
No, I
They
had
will
icing in
still
my
cut you
20s.
loose. Like, you're not for me. You're not
No,
my
I
friend.
no. I had girl to listen. I had icing to give my sisters in my 20s and my
Yeah.
30s. But
Hmm.
here I am in my 40s, okay?
Yeah.
Single, coming up on almost 7 years.
Yeah.
Living with, family, not established, not being where you have lots of things that happen when your mind is functioned on just physical fulfillment and other things
True.
that's not providing you anything. So, like, I always share all of my mistakes because, like, I feel like if a girl in her 20s would listen to me, she could catapult her whole life into a different direction because that's when I started doing all these raggedy things in my 20s.
Right.
And it's like, no, not one of my friends said to me, and I thought about it. Like I was getting worse and worse and worse. I'm gonna have to write a book about it, honey. It was so bad. No friend said, "Girl, don't do that." But here I am, the friend. Now, what I have that happens is because I am that friend that says that stuff, and then my friends know my stuff, but they don't say nothing to me about it, right? So get this. Oh, um, well, you did such and such. And I didn't say nothing. I was like, well, I'm not you. I would say something to you if I felt like you was, doing something outlandish. I
Right.
don't operate like you. I'm going to say something. Now,
Hmm.
if you see me doing something and you feel like you know, it's not befitting of my character and you didn't say anything, then that lets me know that you're definitely probably thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like, no, friend did XYZ. Oh my God, what is she thinking of? That's not truthful. I need what I give.
And
And
listen, it begs the question. And sometimes women could be a little, sometimes they don't check you on your behavior because they want to watch you drown.
yeah, and that is
Sometimes
what
your
I
friends won't
realized,
say,
girl.
do I want to see you in the best light of yourself, because watching you destroy yourself elevates them in a way, makes them feel superior in a way. These are the different, and I don't even want to call them friends, but at the time you may give them the label of friendship, and then you're doing something that may be unbecoming on your end, or something that might be self-sabotaging or something of that nature, and your friends will, or your so-called friends will, egg you on, even though they know that the road leads off a cliff, because part of them want to see you emit less light from your body. They want to see you cast a shadow here and there. Some of these people admire you so much, and they can't find a flaw, that watching you do something that may lead you down a dark road is the highlight of the day for them. So they're not going to give you that good advice. And unfortunately, in the world of women, if you are a woman and you've had female friends, I don't care, on one level from high school all the way to being a grown woman, women can be petty. They will talk about
Patty.
you behind your back. They will plot on your person. You know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't matter how long you've been friends, like, and the idea of women, loyalty should be a thing. But a woman who has actually been around and gotten to know different types of women, she knows regardless of how much time you got put in, you still watch your back, because it takes
Always.
one moment for them to no longer be on your team, and they
Yes.
won't tell you. You won't get an update. They're not going to send you a text message and say, listen, we still socialize, but I'm out to get you. You're
And
going to find out
there
the
is no
hard way.
memo.
And
There's no memo.
self-awareness helps you with that as well,
Yes.
because your senses are high. And the minute energy shift, like, you know what I mean? You act like I could, for example, call Nina and say, guess what? I just got a job, and where I know her to be enthusiastic, she'll be like, good for you. And I'm like, I'm gonna let it slide. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, normally you would have been a lot more giddy
Right.
for me.
Right.
So
Right.
I might check her temperature throughout the week. Are you good? Is everything okay? And as long as she's not telling me she really has something going on with her on the back end, that little comment might have been a little shady. You know what I mean? So now I know
Definitely.
my antennas is up. Like,
Yeah.
why are you not happy for me right now? Why
Right.
didn't I get an applause for you right now? And you tend to see the change in support around big accomplishments with your friends, like an engagement.
Right.
When you tell your girls like, oh girl, he just proposed, and I said, yes, honey. And when you get the fake bravos, watch them. You
Or
know what I
no,
mean?
no words at all. Because that's a big statement
Absolutely.
as well. No,
Absolutely.
no, no, no response is a big response.
Yes, and I agree. And self-awareness keeps you intact with that all the time. See, like, and it's crazy because even with your healing and your health, I don't know if you've had any of these phenomena, Nina, but I have quite a bit, even when it comes to just like when you have really, really done the legwork to be really self-aware. The moment sickness enters your body, you can feel it. Like,
Mm,
I've been outside just regularly grocery shopping, doing whatever, and inhale some oxygen and go,
something not right.
oh, nah, I'm about to get sick. Like, something didn't feel right about how that air went, you know what I mean?
I do.
Or even an interaction with someone. Like, I had a friend of mine, and we worked together, and she was having a combative experience with our training management. We were getting trained for a new position, and they
Mhm.
kind of kept clashing. And I'm like, I remember the first time that I was just kind of like, hey, chill, you know, and the way it rubbed her wrong, knowing good and well, I'm this is looking out for you, not casting a shadow. And the way the temperature changed, like, she almost the behavior said she received it well, but there was
Her
also
actions
no more
after.
conversation for the rest of the evening. So you're just kind of like, oh, I hit a nerve, you know? And then the phenomena kept occurring, throughout other training days or whatever. And there was a moment when when it actually went left, like time towards training was dedicated to training manager and her going back and forth. And we, I'm don't get me wrong, a part of it was investment for myself, because birds of a feather, me and you rock together. So I'm like, I don't want to come into a training for a new position and be known for bucking at management via being connected to somebody that had this experience. So most of it was definitely for her, but I also was thinking, like, by association, this manager would have every reason to think I would be the same way, because
Right.
of how deep we are. We go everywhere together. We were tight enough like that.
Right.
So, but from me saying something the first time, I felt the little twinge, and I was like, yeah, this ain't that didn't rub me right. So by the time it went really left and actually, evolved into a scene, and I actually had to kind of be more direct, like, listen, I hear where you're coming from, but you're still wrong. This is the authority figure. This is his training, his scene. You know what I mean? And it's like you almost pushed him to escalate, because if he doesn't push back, there's other people ready to get rebellious right along with you. If he take that from you, he potentially can lose the whole class. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like creating that environment. And then on top of that, I'm like, we're considered veterans in the training. So there's people that's never worked for this company in this training with us. So they're also getting an assessment for how we do business here. This
Right.
is embarrassing. Like, you know what I mean? So it was like coming from that perspective. And it was really a kind of like, I knew the minute the class wrapped up and I waited for us to walk out together, already gone. And I was just like, right then and there, I was like, in my mind, I was like, the friendship's over.
Right.
Because if in that position, I would have been the person to have to go essentially chase after her. Like I I still to this day, years later, I don't believe that I was wrong. You know what I mean? And I'm like, for me to pursue, I would have had to try to create some type of window where what happened was okay. And I hold my position. None of that was okay. I do understand what the feeling was. I do understand there might have been some embarrassment there, but coming from a professional position, coming from somebody who's demonstrating being a veteran in this establishment, coming from being in your position talking to an authority figure, still came out wrong. And I still feel that way. So it was just kind of like it escalated. And there's people like, you should go, you guys should talk to each other. And I was just like, listen, if we're going to talk, it's going to be because the conversation was initiated on that end, because the conversation was ended on that end. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I don't feel like I had anything to apologize for. And I genuinely feel like there was a lack of professionalism here. And I for me, integrity is a big thing. And I get that ego was a big thing. And I genuinely feel like that was a pride thing. And I think that my speaking to the wrongness of it created a dynamic where I was perceived to be someone who thought they were better in some retrospect. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had seen little reflections of that in interactions years ago, like, me deciding to do something different, and, hearing different comments that might have suggested that I should be less of the person that I'm showing, than what I'm showing up as, and those little tweaks in my brain always kind of went, and I filed them on a shelf. But the first time it happened, I said, this is going to be where the relationship tapers off. If we end up in this situation where I have to demonstrate myself as any type of more mature or anything like that could be perceived like I'm doing something that's more anything compared to what you're doing, the relationship won't withstand that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, and I'm trying to be careful with using my words, because that wasn't said to me. You think you're better than me, and nothing like that. But like, for example, if Nina and I are friends, and let's say, I don't know, we go to a restaurant, and the person gives her change back, and it's way less than what she should have gotten back, and she turns around and goes back in there and lets them have it. And me as the friend, I'm saying, like, it's an innocent mistake. Just go in there and let them know they gave you the wrong change. You don't have to spaz and act the fool and have
Right.
everybody looking at us and do all of that. And Nina makes the adjustment, but then she's like, kind of a who do you think you are to tell me about myself type energy.
Right.
As friends, even though we had that conversation and we survived it, my take on it would be, when she wows out like that, I can't tell her she's wrong, because she can't digest it. She
Right.
perceives it as like, I think I'm her mama, or I think I'm better than her,
Right.
or she's somehow a child in this situation instead of an equal, and somebody's just saying you could have done this better. And it's all love. You're not a lesser being for this conversation. Some people have a real difficulty with that because it shrinks them, and you can tell by their response to it even when they really try to swallow it. And if they tolerate it and y'all don't argue and beef over it, you kind of have to make a mental note and go, if we're out at a restaurant and we're just having fun and we're having drinks, and this same friend is getting a little tipsy and she getting loud, I can't be the one to say maybe you've had enough to drink, because the moment I decide to say that, this is going to be an escalation. And you'll know that based off of what happened at the restaurant. And see,
Now you
self
need to talk to the
awareness,
supervisor.
absolutely. Self awareness will help you gauge those type of things, because you can kind of feel that energy. You can gauge those energy shifts. And I would hope that you know your friends well enough to know what responses and behaviors are normal patterns for them versus irregular patterns for them. So if you tell your friend, you don't have to go in there and spaz, and they're like, oh, I know, I just had a rough day. This is a person that I can bring something to their attention and tell them that they're in the wrong, and we can talk it out and they can laugh at themselves,
Right.
versus having a friend that the minute you're like, you didn't have to go in there and light the whole place up because they gave you the wrong change. And they're like, who you think you are to tell me? You're not my mama. And they don't even have to say that, but they can just tune you out. And right then, they're letting you know this is not a space you can walk into with me. So if you have to do it again, it's going to escalate likely, especially if they're under the influence, especially if they feel embarrassed, if they feel like you're making a scene. And you can't really read the room to the finest detail without self-awareness. You tend to miss
A lot of
context
stuff.
clues, body
Yes.
language, the
Yes.
shift in energy,
The
and
unsaid things.
absolutely. And it's like self-awareness is literally, I promise you, the key to the city. And so many people lack it. Like, I could sit in a room and just watch people mingle, and you could be like, ooh, she mad at him. And heard what they said, they too far.
Listen, girl, you listen. This happened the other day at the doggone grocery store. I looked across the way and I
Uh-huh.
thought to myself, I said, "Ooh, somebody in trouble."
Yeah.
Because he reaching for the phone in her hand, and she's saying, "Nah, nah." I'm reading her lips. Now they ain't cutting up bad, but they cutting up, and I could see, physically he was
Mhm.
getting aggressive. I was like, oh, he got something in that phone there. I didn't have to know, but I could see from across the room, like, oh, he in trouble. Something going on.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
about that friendship thing, like about having a yes friend. What some friends are yes friends because they get to stay in that stagnant misbehavior or whatever with you as well.
Yeah.
So they don't really want to be looked down on either. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, just being a part of the team. And then, you have those people who just really don't have it together in their minds. So like talking to them about certain things is really irrelevant, because they don't even have the capacity. And it's not to down them, it's just that they're having issues and can't really cope. So talking to them about your issues just wouldn't make sense. And
Hmm.
that's something that I realized with a friend that I have. And I always used to say, well, and this is what I said, well, such and such, you're not being a real friend to me when I need you for like things like real things, not who I dated this weekend, not where I'm going to eat tacos that next month. Like, no, I'm talking about like real stuff. You call me and you talk about real stuff for hours. I listen to you. I tell you a gazillion things that you never do, and then you go back and repeat all these things all over again, and our conversation, you and I, is the same thing. Now,
Hmm.
if I was to add my issues to yours, you couldn't even help me. And when I
Hmm.
realized that about her, what I did was I decided, I was like, okay, so she can't help me in that way.
Hmm.
And that's okay. So I demoted her friendship. it's levels. So I demoted her. So it's like where I would tell you about personal things and stuff in my life and things that are happening and this and that. You're no longer. I don't need to. You don't need to know a lot of things about me if you can't. And it's not to use anybody, but I need people who are assets in my life,
Yeah.
not just placeholders, seat warmers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want you there if you can't help me. Just like I don't want to be in your life if I can't help you.
Yeah.
But you just have those friends who really, and I'm not sad to say at all that it's just like, no, you're just a taco friend. You're just a friend
Yeah.
I could go have tacos with. You're just
Yeah.
a friend I could possibly go catch a movie with, or take a walk through the park, or
Absolutely.
But to have intimate conversations, wine, this, that, and the other. You in my space. I can't do that with you because
Absolutely.
it's gonna be heavy for me because I'm gonna walk away with
Absolutely.
probably all of your stuff.
And listen, I honestly, and I've always been that type. And some people, like when you explain it to them, people get offended. But I
They do.
honestly think that's the smart way to navigate life. Like, I think that because the truth is, everybody has a flaw. If you eliminate your friends according to the fact that they don't fit your honor code, you'll never keep any
Mm,
friends. The
nope.
reality is, you have to understand that some people are for loyalty, some people are just to, and I don't, I haven't clubbed or anything like that in freaking forever. But I mean, like the people that you go out and turn the city upside down with, those people you go and have short bursts of fun with. And then you have the ones that you talk to about being a parent, that you talk to about, bettering yourself within your relationship, or,
Business
going to
information.
therapy, or, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And really get deep about like the integrity of your soul is for select few people. Because unfortunately, those same people that you go to the club with, they typically don't have a filter. They typically gossip like nobody's business. They typically want to stay in the experience of life that they have for the duration. Like, so they're the type of people that when you start trying to level up and say, I'm not clubbing anymore, I got this really good job, they call you a Debbie Downer. Like, you're ruining my day because you don't want to come out with me anymore, instead of being proud of you that you got a good job. Like, those people, you go to the club with them and understand that they're club people, they're have a couple of drinks people, they're, and don't try to change who they are. Just understand
Right.
that's the purpose that they serve. And then understand that you have friends that you talk to about your business goals and your future endeavors and your, what I mean, your dreams and aspirations. And those people are the people that motivate you and drive you. And again, self-awareness is the key to that as well, because you will recognize a soul link before y'all even really know each other. Like,
Right.
Nina and I go back years, and
Years.
one of our first interactions was her interviewing me on her podcast. But talking with her leading up to that interview, we hit it off from the
Immediately.
gate. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was nothing to, it was almost, we neither one of us really needed to say it, and we hadn't talked to each other in a while leading up to this podcast. But once we linked back up, it was like we never
Yes.
left. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
we just picked back
Yes.
up where we left off. It
Yes.
wasn't like, dang, like, I haven't
Where you
heard from
been?
you,
You been
where you
acting
been, you
funny?
you not no real friend. It was just like, how have you been?
Right.
I've
See,
seen
look,
this, I'm so
because what I
proud of
see,
this,
what
you
I
got
see,
this
what
going on.
yes,
And it was
it's a
just like,
time to catch up.
absolutely. And enjoy the stories and laugh at each other,
Right.
laugh with each
Yes.
other.
Cry.
And those are a different type of friendships. And
Right.
unfortunately, when it comes to women, we have a tendency to want everybody for everything. And that's the same is true for
It's
your
not
romantic
fair.
relationships too.
Right.
Like, you want to talk to your man like you talk to your homegirls, and he like, girl, I want to go watch the game. Like,
I want to do
you
this
know,
because I
call
don't
call
care
your
what she. I
friend.
don't care. Right.
Call your friend and talk to her, or go have a lunch with your girls and, break down your business with them. Sometimes as a woman, you want to bounce your ideas off your man. And if sure, he wants to be helpful, but you're opening a salon, honey. Like, he's not really, that's not really
Interested
his
in
thing,
color
And
pictures. No.
so it's it's so much when it comes to self-awareness, and honestly, we might need to roll this over to another conversation, but bringing it home, and then of course, Nina, you're more than welcome to add on the
Mhm.
back end. As far as self-awareness is concerned, looking inward is again the key to the city, and that looks like being honest with yourself. That looks like accepting yourself. No rationalizations, no lies, and being unapologetic about your existence, your wants, your needs, and allowing your voice to take up space.
Right.
um you cannot be in an apologetic space and be self-aware at the same time. When you're
Mm-mm.
apologizing to everybody, you feel
No.
shameful for how you exist, you feel guilty about how you exist. Even Miss Nina just told us that, she's getting ready to hit 14 years of sobriety,
Mhm.
whereas somebody can proclaim that they, or claim that they have self-awareness, but they don't want to mention that they come from addiction to alcohol. And
Right.
and they're still pressing forward 14 years later. That's why I'm
Right.
like, you can't walk around with that guilt and that shame and not want to tell people that you struggled with alcohol back in the day and
Right.
then say you're self-aware. You have to be able to accept yourself and say, yes, that's who I was. That's not who I am anymore. Or even if, and honestly, truthfully, I can even say beyond a shadow of a doubt, if right here and right now, Nina was not working on 14 years and she was still in that space today, she would, with no apology on this same panel, say, today, I struggle with my
With
addiction to
blah blah blah.
alcohol.
That is right.
You see what I'm saying? And I'm like, and that would reflect self-awareness for a person to say that, I have an addiction to this, or I have a gambling problem, or I need to work on my money management skills. I don't
Right.
do well with my coping mechanisms when it comes to stress. I tend to eat heavily when I'm depressed and
Right.
hold on to those things. Even in relationships, self-awareness, we tend to self-awareness allows you freedom too,
Yeah,
because
girl, you taking
you
my words, Lacey, because
in
that's the end of
relationships,
what I was gonna say.
we get into relationships with people, and then sometimes you endure things that your mind tells you you shouldn't have to endure, but yet you stay, and then you beat yourself up for the decision to stay. Self-awareness looks like, I love this man or I love this woman, even though they struggle with addiction, even though they struggle with spending too much money, even though they're irresponsible, even though they are a habitual liar. You see what I'm saying? Like, even if you're in a space where you might not recognize your decisions to be, the best, the two things can be true at the same time. We have a lot of ways of convicting ourselves and shaming ourselves for
Mhm.
being in relationships, but this person is not always perfect. And when you find out that they're not always perfect, we say things like, I shouldn't have to deal with XYZ,
Hmm.
and shame ourselves for still wanting to participate even though there's toxicity present. There
Right.
will always be toxicity present. You have toxicity present with them, and they love you despite. And being self-aware looks like saying to yourself, I love you even though, I'm with
Right.
you even though, I
Even
support
though.
you even though. And that's
And
what
that's
that's when you get.
unconditional.
I was just getting ready to say that. And that's when you transition into unconditional love, is when you can look at somebody's flaws and all and say, child, you get on my nerves, but I love
But
the
I
hell
love you. That's right. I love you with
and
your
own
fine
it. And
self.
nobody, absolutely, and no one can clown you and say, you know what, girl, I saw your man. He was he was, playing the slots, and he was there all night and probably
Say,
lost a bunch
girl,
of
that's
money.
what he do, honey.
That right. That's his thing, and that's my man, and I
And
love
I'm gonna
him.
stick beside
And
him.
I'ma stick beside him. And it's like, you may think it's crazy, but a person has the right. You may not make the same decision, but a person has the right to invest themselves wholeheartedly. And when
Right.
you decide to do that, don't fuse that with being ashamed of the decision that you
That you
made.
made.
That's the worst, isn't it? Like
It is
deciding to do something
horrible.
and then, like, nothing is worse than applying for a job and then spending your entire time at the job saying you can't stand the job. Like, you know, you don't have to be here, right? You can go fill out a different application. That's what we do in relationships. That's what we do with friends. We keep friends and keep relationships around and then consistently complain about it instead of being self-aware and saying, you know what? This person has a negative about them. I'm not really a fan, but I promise you, I love them through and through. We tend to focus on the negative, focus on the fact that we don't like the job, and then not pay homage to the fact that this job you don't like keeps a roof over your head and feeds your kids.
Right. Your ungratefulness
Absolutely. And
matters. And,
self-awareness
you know,
allows you to focus on the positives as opposed to the negatives. So it helps you
right.
keep your peace as well and recognize. I love when Ayanna Van Zant always says this on her show, call a thing a thing. You don't
Listen,
have to spend your life in denial and trying to convince yourself with all these rationalizations to make your story true when you can just say, this is what I decide to do. This is who I am. I'm not going to college right now because I don't know what I want to do with my life. Instead of telling people you filling out applications and you in the process of something.
but see, and
Like,
then here you are in that mindset when others are looking at you and you like, we say things to ourselves that if other people said them, we ready to
absolutely.
swing. We ready to do a 2-1-2.
Absolutely.
Those same positive thoughts, it yields gratefulness. You should be grateful. Don't matter if you don't like the job, okay, seek something else. But in the meanwhile, don't make everybody else uncomfortable because you're uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Appreciate, show appreciation, show gratitude. And also, last little tidbit, when we don't show gratitude for the positives that we experience and we consistently complain, you might as well look at whatever your belief system is. I'm spiritual, so I'll say universe, but I know Miss Nina has her faith. But wherever you place yourself in origin, when you show a lack of gratitude, you're basically saying, where this product or where this thing came from, I would like them to come and take it back. Your lack
And
of
that is
gratitude, when you
so
don't appreciate
crazy.
your job and you spend your time complaining about it, you might as well say, I could lose my job today and I wouldn't care.
Right.
You would care. It would devastate you. It would throw your whole life off track. You need to be taking your steps in gratitude, and self-awareness will help you with that as well. It'll drag you out of complaining all the time and realize everything has a purpose for your learning, for your betterment. Even a job that you don't like is cultivating you.
It
And if you
is.
can be self-aware, you'd understand what the work is being done within you, whether it could be something as simple as teaching you patience.
That's right. Because
It
that's the
doesn't
best
have
way
to
it
be
was for me.
anything grand.
That's right.
Absolutely. It could be something really, it could be helping you with your people skills.
Right. Girl. But look, I had a quote that I wanted to share before we got
Please.
offline. Because I mean it's everything we've said, but because I knew that we were doing self-awareness this week, I had just been constantly reading this particular quote. And it says, self-awareness gives you the capacity to learn from your mistakes as well as your successes. It enables you to keep growing, and that's by Lawrence Bossidy. And I just love that quote because it's like I
Absolutely.
always say grow. You know, I got all these grow quotes that I pull up sometimes on Pinterest and stuff. So I got them everywhere. And it's like that quote just kept stinging me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like why am I feeling that way about that quote? What's going on? You know, I felt that way because I had been not facing my mirror in some things.
Yes.
And I was like, no, come on over here, girl. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to check you. And this
Right.
is me checking me. So I go and I find out that in the recent days, I had really been faced I think it's maybe because I had self-awareness on my mind. My mirror has been forced in my face all week. Like, okay, are you about to go off? Because that's usually what you do. Are
Mm-hmm.
you about to go off? And it's like I check myself and I'm like, no, I'm not. I would love to. I would love nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a ruckus starter, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely know how to get you off my back.
Absolutely.
But love and light to everybody that came on and discussed self-awareness with us. Of course, we could talk about self-awareness all night long, Lacey, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But because it's just important, it's imperative. And Black women, um, our mirrors are different, no matter how we want to look at it or not. I mean, our mirrors are different. So you have lots of things to look at, inward and outward.
Most
And I
definitely.
urge you, if you haven't been holding yourself accountable for your things, not what happened to you that provoked said things. No, but the things you're choosing, because if you're doing it, you're choosing to. It's an absolute choice. You
Mm-hmm.
choose better. It's worth it.
Truth, truth. I'm gonna read a couple of comments and close out with this last one. Shamahela, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Seeing someone else shine their light and truth can really trigger an insecure mind. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, friends serve different purposes at different levels of your journey. And this last one that I put up on the screen, he who looks outside
I
dreams,
wrote
he
that
who looks
down.
inside awakes. I
Yes.
thought that was
Yes.
powerful. I had to put, I
I
was like,
wrote
let
it
me
down.
put that on the
Yes.
screen.
I
That was
wrote it
really dope.
down.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much for that quote. That was a really, really beneficial quote for us to
Right.
wrap up with.
Mhm.
I appreciate all of you guys participating with us as we're growing and evolving. I hope this conversation was helpful. Please remember to acknowledge, to rebuild, and then evolve. And Miss Nina, thank you as
And
always for accompanying me. I do appreciate it.
an honor.
You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. We will see you guys next Friday, and we will be announcing when we'll be broadening our schedule as well. So stay tuned. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace and love, you guys. Bye bye. Bye bye.